Good morning. Hello.
Hello.
There he is.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. Good morning, guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well. Doing well.
Well, we this is a interesting time in the old car hobby.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Interesting. All right.
Yeah, different. I've never seen, and I know you haven't either, seen anything that comes close to the changes that the current virus situation has imposed on the hobby.
Yeah.
And the questions and the stuff that people are asking and trying to find out what's what. I think the first thing we ought to do is to find out what's left of the AACA schedule for this year.
Well, we are going forward with our Grand National Meet, which was postponed from July. That will be in August, and pleased to say that we've got well over 500 cars planning to be there.
Wow.
And then we're, well, quote, the Hershey was canceled, only part of it was canceled. We are found a way to bring back the car show on Saturday, and now are adding a few more events on Friday to make it a weekend of car activities. But we've done so with a huge interest and responsibility to make sure that both events are safe for the participants and for any public that's around. And so we're excited, we're nervous, but we felt we could do it safely, and we felt that our membership in the hobby needed to have a few events, and we're just going forward.
Yeah, that's great, and I think a lot of us have cabin fever and are ready to get out and do things. Just another side question: with everything going on, is construction going on with the new building?
Yeah, fortunately, we only lost 45 days or so. I was up at the building for about 2 hours last night with one of our major donors, giving him a tour, and the elevator arrived yesterday in a lot of pieces, but it arrived, and it's sitting in the atrium, and there's painting going on inside, so we're about 2/3 done, and the excitement is now really palatable because you can see really what the dream is going to end up looking like. And as this benefactor told me last night, he said, boy, he said, after seeing all the drawings and the pictures and whatever, they just did not do this place justice. And he was just over the moon about how well this project's coming along. So that got me re-excited about everything as well.
Oh, that's great. Speaking of donors and things, donations, are you still seeing some? Is the funding going on?
Yeah, we're still seeing some, but we made the conscious decision that we did not want to appear to be tone deaf and going out and actively trying to raise money during a time where everybody is trying to figure out what's going to happen to their lives. And
Right.
Sure.
while we need to raise the money, we don't need to hit people when it's time that they've got really more important things on their mind. But we're going to have to get back to it soon, and we will. Hopefully the economy continues to get a little bit better and more people go back to work, and we get some kind of handle on this coronavirus, and we can get back to whatever is going to be the normal life of us down the road.
Yeah.
So when do you expect a opening date, and what restrictions do you see that you'll have to do on that date?
Well, the opening date's probably going to be mid-October. as far as restrictions, that's going to depend on our state
Sure.
government.
This year, October, right?
This year, oh yeah, this year
Yeah.
October.
So,
Okay, we're,
so it's probably right around Hershey or shortly
yeah,
thereafter.
it's going to be a couple weeks. It's not. If we got super lucky, we'd be done by the car show in the fall. But most likely, it's going to be a couple weeks afterwards.
Are we going to
we
be
get all
able
the-
to, if we come up for the meet, are we going to be able to see what's what?
Well, you'll certainly be able to see the outside. As far as the inside, that's something that I'm going to have to find out from our local township. As far as if we don't have an occupancy permit, I don't know how they're going to feel about us taking people through tours. So,
Okay.
and it depends on how much construction is still going on. So we'll see. At that time, what we can do and what we can't do.
Steve, you said that you were re-inspired or excited again. What if you were to name one thing or two things that are the best about it? What would they be?
Wow, great question. First of all, you get in there and just the pure beauty of what was done on a very limited budget, although it's not small, but in comparison to many other projects, everything was really thought out well, and the building is got some grandeur to it. You walk into the atrium, it's going to be breathtaking in the lobby as you walk in. And then just seeing how functional the building is and how massive the library is going to be. We picked out the furniture here recently, and I mean, it's just going to be a real comfortable place for people to come in and sit down and do their research and do their reading, and it's just going to be so many materials. This is more than two things because it's hard to say two things when it comes to a building of this size and this beauty. So
Does this mean we're going to have Ritter back on?
Excuse me?
Does this mean we're going to have Ritter back on?
Chris has got a lot of exciting things he's planning. He's, given the Philadelphia Public Library collection coming here and other collections, which is almost like a daily thing. Yesterday we got a delivery that's sitting out here right in front of me, because my office is temporarily in the lobby of the library. But he's got some big plans for activities in the library. The goal of bringing the library alive and bringing it to the masses and putting on programs and doing things.
That's
So,
great. To me, that's the most important.
Chris will have a lot to tell you about.
That's the most important thing is the library. Now, a couple things. Do you have a drop dead date where you have to be out of the old building? Everything has to be gone?
That drop dead date has come and gone.
Come and gone.
We are out of the building, and it's already being demoed. In fact, it's 95% demoed on the
Really?
inside.
Wow.
The old pretty old building is gone?
Well, the building itself is there, Steve. They wanted to keep the outside, but the interior, just like our building up on 800 West Hershey Park Drive, our old building now has walls down and doors pulled out and bathrooms yanked out. It's going to be a massive interior refurbish for this company.
What'd you do with all the stuff? You got a lot of stuff in there.
Oh, let me tell you, that has been we are in about 9 different storage areas around town. It's been we rented a few, and then we went back and rented another one. Then we went back and rented another one. We've got 4 or 5 car trailers that are filled with stuff. Oh boy, this has not been fun. Let me tell you.
Oh, it's a huge undertaking.
Yeah,
Just a
yeah, it was.
monstrous undertaking.
Fortunately, the staff man, they worked hard. They really worked hard in
Yeah.
helping us get out of Dodge, and we were able to do that and do it well and survive it. And so now the next part is moving it all back into the new building. That'll be another challenge for us.
I think we ought to have some kind of a super recognition for all of you guys up there for doing this stuff and keep things going while this was happening. This is a huge deal. People don't have any idea unless they've ever been there. What we're talking about is a monstrous undertaking to do this stuff.
Yeah, but that's our calling, and that's why we're here, and we're happy to do it, and just trying to keep the lights on and do our best to be here and be ready for when this hobby is able to come back to.
At this point, Steve, can the public do anything there, or?
No, we're pretty well shut down at this point. We do have curb service for people who want to come to the library and get materials. We do have that, but between all the moving out, and we're packing up in the library as well now. I mean, we've got 2 million pieces of literature that have to be moved to the new building, and all the new high density files are here sitting in 6 trailers.
Oh, wow.
At Old Dominion Freight Line. So 6 53-foot trailers are holding our high density files.
Wow, that's something.
So
when is the Philadelphia Library collection slated to be delivered, or what's the schedule for that?
yeah, we're pushing them to keep it for a while. we I'm stuttering here because we really don't want it right now.
Yeah.
Enough is enough.
Yeah, some of the material is, I wouldn't say fragile, but it's 100-year-old material, and
Yes.
We don't have at this point in time a great temperature-controlled facility to bring it to. So we're hoping to delay that material coming here until we really have the ability to get it here and get it here appropriately.
Okay, and back to the two, and then I know we have a tour to talk about too. The one that we got an email, all of the judging community got an email about the rules for Allentown, the Grand National meet, where only AACA members, right? It's not going to be open to the public.
Yeah, this is a first in our history, and something that gave us great pause. But with what the facility was requiring us to do, and what their concerns were for their staff, and everything to keep this event safe, we felt as our very first event that we would need to limit it to AACA members and the people that are attending. And trust me, that's not anything we wanted to do, but we spent a lot of time in thinking about how can we put on one of our most important car events of the year and do it responsibly and safely. And so we made that tough decision that the public's not going to be allowed, and then of course added a whole lot of other
masks
things
and all that
to
stuff.
the plate to make sure that we do our best to protect everybody that is going to be involved in this event.
Steve, we're going to have to stop there for just a minute. If you'll stick with us, we'll be back right after a word from J.C. Taylor Insurance.
Hi, this is Steve Ronaldo, host of the Classic Car Show on America's Web Radio. Just talking to you about antique car insurance. I think that if you're looking for the best coverage for your classic car, consider J.C. Taylor Insurance. They've been my insurer for years in this hobby and have the top rating of all of the insurance companies in the hobby. When you get ready for insurance, call J.C. Taylor or visit jctaylor.com on the internet.
And yeah, we want to encourage you to give J.C. Taylor a call. And if you've never talked to him before, tell him that you heard about him on America's Web Radio. We'll be back with Steve Moskowitz right after this.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we're back on the Classic Car Show, and our special guest today is the president of AACA, Mr. Steve Moskowitz. Unless you've changed from president to director again, Steve.
No, CEO.
Yeah, I'm really the head janitor, but
You finally mastered the broom after all these years.
that doesn't mean I mastered the broom. It just means that the Peter principle is alive and well.
Okay, again, back to the car show stuff. All right, we're coming to and I know several people are talking about coming up to judge at Hershey, just simply to see what kind of, before we get to the car show part, what kind of restrictions will we find in the Hershey area? Hotels, restaurants, stuff.
Yeah, the hotels do not have a lot of restrictions, and most of them have a significant COVID policy of cleaning and doing different things. The restaurants, though, they are stuck with a policy of limited indoor seating, but although we do have indoor seating now. The restaurants at this point do not seem to be overloaded inside, but do seem to be relatively busy at this present time. So in town, you're not going to see a whole lot of difference. Anything that's just a bar only, that's a real. They have some real restrictions now of only allowing about 25% of the people to come in if they don't serve food. So it's kind of a mixed bag, and who knows what it will be like in October.
Sure.
Hopefully it'll get better. And at least in this county, we saw a decrease in new cases. The bigger problem seems to be towards the Philadelphia area, but hopefully things will get better if people wash their hands and wear the damn mask.
Yeah. All right. Now, if we we show up, is this a AACA member only car show like Allentown?
No, this one we're going to allow the public to.
And how are you going to do that?
Very carefully.
Yeah, I just wonder. I just wonder what kind of plans you've made.
Yeah, are you going to take temperatures?
Well, Steve, everybody that comes in is going to have to answer the COVID questions. They're going to have to get their temperature taken with the no temperature thermometers, cool. Or there's some new technology that we just found out about that might be quicker to do. So that's on them. That's how they're going to have to come in. And once they come in, we're going to have a ton more restroom facilities. The facilities will be cleaned often. We're going to have sanitizing trees around the property. We're going to have extra hand washing machines. We are going to require people to wear masks. That's an absolute. As it stands today, what we have to do is follow whatever procedures that Hershey Park is following at the time, because it's their property and their exposure that they're concerned about. So we are working very carefully with the security and safety director for Hershey Entertainment, who's been assigned to us personally, and we've met several times. This week I went over to Hershey Park and spent several hours watching how they brought 7,000 people into the park and how that went and how the people were respecting the rules. So I've got a good feel for how it's being done at their show, and it's going to require a whole bunch more volunteers to check everybody, but we got to do what we got to do in order to put the show on.
Will masks be required for
Yeah, he
visitors?
said,
they
he
will
said
be.
that.
and for
Those
the participants too, right?
Yep, everybody, judges, everybody. At this point in time, Steve.
Yeah, I know things
Right.
can change. Things can change.
Steve, we've never, to my knowledge, or I don't remember it other than briefly, from an interview standpoint, but not talking about AACA. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but we do a lot with veterans and the military as well, but primarily veterans. In the museum, is there any acknowledgement of the roles that the cars and trucks have played in the military?
Really interesting that you brought it up. But first of all, do not use the word museum with us. The AACA National Headquarters and Library, there is a museum here in town, but they're not affiliated with us. We don't have anything currently. Of course, our old building didn't work out for that. But interestingly enough, you brought the subject up with this being the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. On Friday of the car show weekend, we're going to have a display of military vehicles, and we're going to have a seminar on military vehicles and World War II history. And so we're going to pay a little bit of homage to those who've sacrificed so much for all of us.
Cool.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Cool.
I have a question on military vehicles. And in the judging system, do we have one class that's, I don't remember.
Yeah, there is
there
there's
now?
military vehicle
Yeah,
class.
is that recent?
Fairly recent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I-
when I went to judges school, I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
that was 10 years ago. Yeah, okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Do you want some of us? There's not a whole lot of veterans. It's kind of funny. Do you want us to wear some of our military regalia up at the Hershey meet?
That'd be very cool. That would be great. That would be another addition to what we're trying to do. Is okay. So we made the bold move to go ahead and have this. We got cooperation with Hershey Entertainment to have it, which we naturally would have had, and so on the fly, we're just trying to add activities to the weekend. We're going to probably announce late, but I think at this point, I think we're going to have a big barbecue on Friday night for all the folks, and so we're trying to make this
Cool.
weekend as enjoyable as we can,
And safe.
especially when
Yeah.
life right now is not full of a lot of joy for an awful lot of people.
The last thing I need to know is judges registration open yet online?
Yes, it is.
It is, okay. I've been reading. I didn't see a notification on the
Speedster?
on the forums.
Yep, everything's open.
Is my press pass ready?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. I think this is going. I think this is going to be kind of an interesting. I can't do Allentown, but I'm going to definitely make the effort to come to Hershey.
Fabulous. It'd be good to see you again.
Yeah, Steve, one other comment. Speedster, that is incredible, and it really, I think, keeps the pipeline open to everybody.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yes.
it's a great piece.
Stacy
Yeah.
Zimmerman, our editor, does a great job with that. She really cares about putting something out that's interesting, and of course, it allows us to put out more timely material when our magazine only comes out 6 times a year. But the magazine, we're hearing more and more people just saying that they're so thrilled with having the magazine. It keeps them involved, and along with Speedster, we do our best to communicate with our members to tell them what's going on, what's happening, and we're happy that the open rates on Constant Contact for our Speedster are way beyond what the norm is, and they constantly tell us about our performance being as good as anybody out there. So that's pretty terrific.
Yeah, Stacy does a
Yeah.
great job with
Yeah.
that.
You know who else Wes does? But Steve Rossi. His column
his
is
column
always
is al-
very good.
They're always good. You know, the thermometer that you're going to use at Hershey, is it the new one, the IRT?
I don't even know about that.
Oh, it's
Steve.
an intense rectal thermometer. It's a newest
Oh,
thing.
geez.
Oh God!
Oh my gosh!
All right, we're going off the air.
Only for you, Steve. Only for you. And we're going to have Big Bubba.
Big Bubba do it.
With the rose bush thorns.
Yeah, there is a new thermometer we just heard about. It's actually a strip that is even quicker than and more accurate, they say, than the forehead one. So we're going to check into it this week,
Wow.
but we will be checking and just again trying to keep people safe.
I think you're doing a great job. I really do. I'm just so glad that something is going to happen. Are we going to about break time?
Yeah, we'll take a
All right,
break.
now we're going to come back
right
and talk about the
quick.
tours.
And we'll be back with Steve Moskowitz right after this.
Hi, this is Steve Ronaldo, host of the Classic Car Show on America's Web Radio. Just talking to you about antique car insurance. I think that if you're looking for the best coverage for your classic car, consider J.C. Taylor Insurance. They've been my insurer for years in this hobby and have the top rating of all of the insurance companies in the hobby. When you get ready for insurance, call J.C. Taylor or visit jctaylor.com on the internet.
And we want to encourage you to call J.C. Taylor and tell him, if you haven't ever heard about him before, tell him that you heard about him on America's Web Radio and the Classic Car Show. Our special guest today is president of AACA, and we're delighted to have Steve Moskowitz on talking about what they're doing in the coming back of programs and events, which I think is great. And there's one thing about the classic car hobby and you all, Steve, is that one, it puts a smile on everybody's face. You're dealing with some of the nicest people in the country, and I think they will be one of the most cooperative groups in the country. They enjoy what they do, but they certainly don't want to make anybody sick. They don't want to, cause any kind of problems. And I think what you all are doing is going to be a wonderful step forward for the country, as a matter of fact. So, is there anything that we have missed that you would like to cover, Steve?
Well, first of all, I got to correct. You keep wanting to make me the president, and I'm not sure anybody. I don't want to be the president of anything. I think at this point in the world.
Yeah, good thought. Yeah, good idea.
I'm president, governor, those kind of things. I don't want to be, but I'm the executive director, the CEO, whatever. But titles don't mean much. No, just to tell people to keep the faith. The hobby is alive and well. The online auctions are doing from decent to extremely well. There's still a lot of activity. There's going to be some live activities besides Hershey. There's going to be a few auctions that are actually going to happen. Auburn Fall is happening. Carlisle has been having a bunch of their events. So, the hobby is moving forward, and we'll regroup and we'll pick ourselves back up. And, this country's been through all sorts of problems in the past, and we're a resilient group of people, and we'll find a way to persevere. And, we're hopeful that in 2021 that there'll be a vaccine and be better treatments, and we can move on and live our life as Americans are used to. So, don't give up, don't despair. Just remember that for those folks that are AACA members, that we're working hard at our coming year, and we plan a full year of activities. And so, look forward to seeing everybody in the coming year.
Now, how are you going to advertise and promote Steve's thermometer booth?
Oh,
Not
Lord.
going to do that. I think we'll let that go
Yeah.
word of mouth.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway, or maybe somewhere else. But let me ask you a question. We have one tour left on the schedule.
Yep.
And Oklahoma, Broken Arrow, Joe. What kind of things do you see happening with the Oklahoma tour revolving around this? Just say it happens. What kind of things do you see from what you can and can't do stuff with this tour coming up? It's a 5-day tour in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, and we've signed up. So I'm just curious what you guys are thinking about this stuff.
Well, to tell you the truth, Steve, we've not heard a lot from the organizers of that event at this point, and they may be still trying to figure their way around it. We've not been asked for our opinion on this at this point, but certainly, social distancing, masks, and a heck of a lot of hand sanitizer ought to be a part of whatever they're thinking at this point, as of today. People in their cars by themselves naturally are automatically social distanced. I'm sure it's going to affect their banquets and things of that nature. But we stand ready here if they want our advice on anything to do. But I'm sure those basics are going to have to be taken into account.
What are the odds of this happening?
My understanding from the organizers that it's extremely high.
Good. I hope so, because I've missed all the tours. I have more fun at the tours than I do because I have a captive audience for my corny jokes.
Save the rectal thermometer joke.
Anyway, another thing that I hear all the time and people are discussing, and there's a lot of goofy information out here. How did Carlisle have their flea market and Hershey not happen? Maybe you can finally clear that up because there's so much speculation about that stuff.
Yeah, this is pretty simple, and Carlisle Events and AACA are good friends. Bill and Lance Miller actually were in a lot of contact with me prior to the court hearing, and I talked with Bill at length after the court hearing. They had a little different animal. That's a private business. They own the property. They don't have to answer to anybody but themselves. And they had a business decision to make. They were damned if they do and damned if they don't. If they did not open up this year, there was going to be some economic damage to their business and their ability to keep their employees. And if they went forward against the governor's wishes, they could be fined, etc. And they took the gamble that they had made all the necessary changes in their operation to do things very similar to the rules that were laid out for amusement parks. And they figured that they were very similar to an operation of amusement parks, and they felt that they were not being treated fairly by the law. And so, at that time, AACA had to make a decision prior to that because we had contracts to sign and we had awful lot of things to abide by with Hershey Entertainment because they owned the property. We didn't. And the rules that Hershey Entertainment is operating the amusement park basically would have cut our flea market and car corral down to well under 50%. And that's the kiss of death. It made the event financially not viable. So, two different animals, and fortunately, Carlisle went to court, and the judge really skewered the the state because of the way the governor was handling the protests and those kind of things here in the state, and they were admonished that they better get a settlement, and sure enough, before the judge ruled on it, the state settled with Carlisle, and Carlisle's now able to operate. They do have all the procedures like we are doing, and they have reduced the amount of people that can come in, and the amount of vendors and the amount of cars and all that kind of thing. So, just again, Carlisle's a totally different. When you own your own property, you can do with it what you want. We did not own the property to host our events on.
Yeah, interesting, because there's so many different stories, and of course, everything on the internet is 100% true.
Oh, let me tell you, I've heard them all, and it's really sad because people have called the Hershey region, called national cowards for not putting it on, and it's just sad when after 65 years, the first time the fall meet's been canceled. While those folks that are extremely upset that we canceled it, they ought to have put themselves in the shoes of the Hershey region folks who year after year devote their time and energy to this event, and then have to make that just gut-wrenching decision to cancel it. I mean, it was far more hurtful for the region to cancel it than
Sure.
Joe Sixpack, the vendor. Or
Sure.
Art
Steve,
Bell.
I'm curious that if they come out with a vaccine tomorrow, say, and you've got people at your front gate knocking on the door to come in, are you going to make them show some kind of, I don't know whether the vaccine's we don't know whether it's going to work or not, but say it does and people are getting the vaccine, are they going to have to show you some kind of proof of vaccination, or what? How are you all going to treat it after there is a vaccine?
Well, that's so far down the road. I don't want to throw names around, but I have a brother-in-law who's pretty famous epidemiologist, and he's in the forefront of this fight. And the last I heard from him was this vaccine is not going to be here overnight. So we're looking into next year. I mean, the biggest hope right now is they keep coming out with treatments that can take away the prospect of people being hospitalized and death and those terrible reactions to this thing. So the vaccine I think is well into next year, and then we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, as I wrote on my thing, reading some of these people on the forums, it's just amazing. And some of these people have no idea. They just show up and participate and go home. They have no
Absolutely.
idea the time, effort, and money that I can't imagine what the budget for Hershey is. I couldn't even conceive of the amount of money it takes to put on that Hershey car thing for 4 days every year.
Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary, and people didn't realize that one of the requirements that when we were talking about trying to put this on still, there was going to be a requirement that we go out and re-fence the entire area
Wow.
to the tune of $250,000. And
Whoa.
that just was not, just not doable. It comes to be a point where this does get to be a dollars and cents thing, and and then you had so many other issues. You had the issues of the volunteers who are in that age group for the most part that are susceptible, and they were going to put themselves in harm's way, and
I
you got
doubt
all
it.
the people. Excuse me.
I doubt it.
No, and then you got all the people from Europe that weren't going to be able to come over here, and other countries. Just so many negatives on this thing that It just wasn't meant to be. And
No, and smart move. It was a smart move on your guys' part. Even at the regular one, you always hear this complaint. You get over towards the walkover bridge, and there's all those regular everyday cars parked there and stuff. And people say, "Well, that's horrible." I said, "Well, you got to look at the hundreds of volunteers. Where are they gonna? Where do you want them to park?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, use your head a little bit.
Yeah, it's we get pretty spoiled at times in this hobby, and should think about others a little bit more often, and what it takes and what they go through. This hobby is a gift; it's not a right, and people need to consider that.
That's a nice
Hey,
way
that's
of
a good
putting
way
it.
to put it. Yeah, I like. Yeah.
You know, one thing that all of us can do is get in our old cars and drive them. Don't leave them
Amen.
sit in the garage right
Oh,
now,
yeah.
but get in. And I'm guilty of not doing it. I know Steve goes out with his, but there's so many of us that don't do it that just need to get in the cars and go drive them. And they'll
Yeah,
be, and
I
the
mean,
cars
it's
will be
great.
better for it.
Absolutely, the worst thing to do is
Yeah.
let a car sit. And
Yep.
boy, I tell you what, I'm as guilty as you guys, if not more guilty.
Get that Oldsmobile out. Crank it up. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Let me tell you, just yesterday they canceled my last opportunity to go racing this summer.
Oh, Equinox.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. What surprises me is Lime Rock's still going to have their weekend.
Yep. They were able to pull it off. Equinox was canceled mainly because of the restrictions the state of Vermont had
Yep.
for people visiting, and it was the death knell to the event. I would have had a quarantine for 7 or 14 days.
Really?
There.
Yeah. Well, it's like
That-
Watkins Glen, the SVRA race. If you live more than 150 miles, you got to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's that sure puts an end to that stuff. Doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yep, sure does.
I keep hearing from people, and this is not just AACA in general. This is more hobby related, and you're one of the few people that have your pulse on all kinds of aspects of this. Now is the time to buy a car. They say we had Bob Wallace on not long ago, and he was saying, and he was talking about the auctions and sales, that a lot of the cars that people have always wanted to own are really reasonable right now with stuff going on. What do you think about that?
I think for the most part that's correct. The real desirable, super desirable stuff is still hard to obtain, but boy, the regular cars, but cars that people always dreamed of owning, there are spots here and there that you can pick them up at a much more reasonable price. And I think it's absolutely correct. If you're interested in a certain kind of car, get involved, follow what's happening with the different auctions, because you may just be able to pick up that dream car for the price that you had always hoped to pay for it. So, get involved, get active, keep watching, because it could very well happen.
Yeah, they had Dana Meekum on, and he said the average everyday kind of car, like a 55 Chevy or a Chevelle, if it just not any, not some super thing that was owned by this, or not a Yenko or some weird stuff, it's down, they're saying 30, a little over 30% on an average for just regular cars.
Yeah, regular good cars, fun cars that are enjoyable, and cars that you can drive and tour and be comfortable. Yeah, I think those are much more attainable right now. You've got a lot of people that are making the decision at time to sell, and are willing to settle for less than they have in the past. And I think it's a great time to...
Steve, if I'm looking at a XYZ car to buy, can I call you all up and say, or can you all give me any assistance in something I should know about that car, or look at, or question?
We really wouldn't be, because every car, every car is a unique and individual car, and every car that somebody is interested in buying, they really need to take the time to inspect the car personally.
Sure. Okay,
make sure it's
so I
okay.
go ahead and buy it, and then I have some questions about it. Can I go to the library and?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if there's any research material that, whether it's the owner's manual or shop manuals or sales manuals or stuff like that, that we certainly can do. But, I want to get back to my other point, because I get these calls all the time.
Oh, really?
And I am guilty of this myself. If you're interested in the car, don't let your enthusiasm overrule your brain. Find a way to look at the car and inspect it, whether you have to have somebody else do it or yourself, preferably yourself. Make sure you're doing your due diligence and not just, oh man, this is the car I've always wanted, it's the right price, and then you get it back and you find out, oh my God, it's filled with Bondo and it's this and it's that and it's whatever. You have a responsibility to yourself to get that car inspected. So that's my preaching for the day.
Sure, and buy what you can afford and buy what you want to drive.
Yep.
Hey, I know where you can get an 09 Maxwell, Steve. Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm going to race his Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
We're going to have a race.
Anytime, Steve. Anytime.
Yeah, you could do Mount Equinox or Mount Washington next year in the Maxwell. Probably a day and a half.
Well, it's like we go to the New England Brass and Gas, and we've done that a few times, and there's a brush that shows up, a one-cylinder brush. This older couple, and when they get to certain points, she has to get out so he can drive up. And the sad thing is, she always beats him. So, but that's fun. That's the fun stuff.
Yeah.
To me, the tours are the most fun. I just think they're cool.
Well, and the other thing is Brenda puts those great books together.
Yeah, and the clothes and all that stuff.
So
anyway, looks like we're on our way back, and I think you guys have had an integral part, and I'm so glad to see some national activities, not just in AACA, in other clubs, because all of the other smaller clubs have canceled everything for the year. Something needs to keep this rolling, man.
Steve, how about giving us a commercial for AACA? The reason that whether you own a car or don't own a car, it's a good idea to be a member of AACA. And so give us a quick commercial for AACA.
Well, number one reason is going to keep me in a job. But,
and your wife and family would appreciate that, huh?
Yeah, but beyond that, we feel we're the glue that holds the hobby, and we think that we offer more activities. We offer a phenomenal award-winning magazine. You've already mentioned Speedster. We have a great website that's due to be even greater by the end of the year. We have America's automotive library. We have the largest library in the United States for antique cars and collectible cars. We are the most active of all clubs, and we're sort of the glue. We're the first club that started in this country in 1935. We're the largest, and so by people joining us, it helps us keep our mission alive of preserving cars and making sure that this hobby is not forgotten, and strongly being involved in legislation that affects our future and our ability to enjoy the hobby. So, and we've got regions and chapters all throughout the United States where you can get involved locally. You can get involved being a writer in magazines that are done locally. You can become webmasters. You can win awards. You can get involved in our judging program. There's just so many things. We are just a multifaceted car club, and need the support of the public, and deserve the support of the public, so that we can continue doing things like buying the Free Library of Philadelphia's collection, so people actually can have access. And and I want to state strongly that our library is a free library. It's available to anybody, whether they're a member or not. And not too many organizations do things like that. And our website, we host forums for other car clubs for free. This is a club that's very inclusive.
I guess there's only one thing that I missed, and maybe you said it and I just wasn't listening as closely as I should, that you all work closely with America's Web Radio and the Classic Car Show. Did I miss that?
Naturally. That is absolutely another reason. And seriously, we really appreciate it. You've had both myself and Chris and others on from AACA, and of course Steve's a life and loyal member of the club. We appreciate your understanding how important AACA is to the hobby, and you've always been respectful and appreciative of that. And so we're very grateful for the time that we get to spend with you and enjoy your company and listen to Steve's jokes. And America's Web Radio is an absolute favorite of AACA.
What other thing is the bargain of the club is the dues.
Oh, it's amazing.
The dues are the lowest dues of any club that I know of. And besides that, and the free library is, what is it, an hour and a half for research you get?
You get free. That's just tremendous.
Yep,
So-
hour and a half of free research, that pays for the dues itself.
Oh, yeah. Well, the
And
magazine.
the magazine pays for the dues itself. And, we're not always going to be able to keep the dues that artificially low, and they very well could go up this year at the debate we're having right now. But it's still a huge, huge bargain considering all that you get as a member of AACA.
Yes.
The interesting thing, and there's no answer, is what will next year look like?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Boy.
I
Yeah,
wonder.
I know,
I mean,
yeah.
you just think about this, just say this stuff gets under control. And what do you think next year? Just speculation. The same, bigger, smaller? What do you think? Just off the top of your head, what would you guess? Just say it's under control.
We're planning for a full year of events, but we know that nothing is going to be the same again for a while. So we will probably have restrictions on some of our events, and we'll probably have safety precautions on some of our events. But the goal is that, if this country gets healthier, that we march ahead and do what we've always done. Like you got some areas, in our state here, Philadelphia has already put a major ban on large activities through February, and I do know that there are certain events that happen in February and March in the beginning of the year that are now having the same conversation. What are we going to do?
How about the
Because
convention?
there's so much unknown here right now.
How about the convention? Because we're almost out of time. What do you think?
I think we're going to be good to go for next year, and we're just going to make it happen. I choose
Good
to
for
be
you.
optimistic.
Good for you.
Good.
I hope so. And the thing I do like is one of the things that, I know it's almost time, but what the vintage tour people did is going to allow brass cars this year too. That's cool.
You got to do things differently. You can't do the same old thing all the
The
time.
rules have changed.
when you've got issues like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to we've got a couple more minutes, actually.
Well, let's
anything
do
that
the
we've left out?
website. Steve,
Yeah,
give
let
us
him-
the
Yeah,
website.
the website and contact info and stuff.
Website is www.aaca.org. This weekend, you might find some problems with it because we're in the midst of this long process of migrating to new servers, but eventually, because of that, we're going to have an all new website here in the next few months, and very, very excited about that. But AACA.org, you'll find forums, you'll learn a lot about the club, and you'll find a lot of enjoyment out there on our website.
Phone numbers, address.
Phone number is 717-534-1910. We got a brand new phone system, so we can handle you a lot better. We are located here in Hershey, Pennsylvania, P.O. Box 417 we're using now because we're kind of in the midst of our move. But certainly after this is all over in October, we will be able to welcome guests with open arms to our facility, and it's going to be a great treat. We're going to have a phenomenal display of cars in our atrium that's just going to blow your mind, and we're going to have a library that's just going to knock your socks off as well. So we're excited about seeing people in our building again, and hosting building and shaking hands and all that sort of stuff.
Super. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll see you at Hershey.
I hope so too. I'll have the thermometer ready for you.
Gotcha, Steve.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Steve, for joining us.
Yes,
and
thanks,
we
Steve.
look forward to talking to you again real soon.
You're welcome, guys. Stay safe.
You too.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, my name is Steve Ronaldo, host of the Classic Car Show on America's Web Radio, talking to you about antique car insurance. In this hobby that I've been part of for years, not all